What's your feeling on why humanity feels so upside down right now? Why there is so much division? Why there is so much ugliness being brought up to the surface for humanity right now?
Because we're at a convergence point right now. So we've lived in a timeline where, and this is really how timelines behave in general, and that is that the timeline that you're in tends to be populated by people of similar bandwidths to you, meaning people who are not the same, but at least in the same kind of reality field. That's where we used to live. So, like, for example, if you believed in war and you believed in injustice requires punishment, if those were your beliefs, you tended to live in a timeline where that was acceptable and where at least most people would be on your wavelength. But where we are right now is bringing all the timelines that ever existed into one big melting pot. And that's a lot of timelines. So you've heard the expression, I'm sure, about passing through the eye of the needle. There's this wonderful
Hmm.
biblical expression. I
Hmm.
remember reading it as a
Hmm.
kid, and just there was something about this eye of the needle thing that I don't know why it captivated me. And now I know why, because that's where we are. We're bringing all of the timelines into a convergence point, which means, first of all, this is why we have the Mandela effect. We have
Hmm.
people from all of these timelines landing up in the same room, so to speak. And we've all watched different movies and heard different songs and have different endings to those movies and different words to those songs. Now we're in the same room trying to pretend that we were always part of the same reality, but we weren't. This is happening because we're preparing for ascension. This is happening because we're cleansing the false matrix. This is happening because there were so many timeline wars that splintered our reality into literally thousands of different timelines. Some of those timelines were abandoned, some of those timelines were populated, but it was a crazy mishmash of multiple timelines used to keep humanity essentially in a prison, a consciousness prison, where they couldn't reach beyond their band of consciousness. Now that we are in the process of purifying that, we find ourselves in such opposition because we're exposed to all of these different frequencies from the lowest low to the highest high. We're all in the same room with each other now. And what that does is it catalyzes, oh, but I like this. Oh, I don't like that. It brings up such contrast. And we're not used to seeing this much contrast. We're used to being in a timeline where we kind of could have disagreed with somebody, but we're at least in the same field of consciousness. We're not in the same. It's kind of like we have all the different realities that there could ever be occupying the same timeline right now. And that creates mishmash, that creates confusion, that creates contrast. And it's kind of like everybody's moving into this knee-jerk response to the opposite of what they like, the opposite of where they